The stars outside the space station hung silently in the black sky. This station, called Outpost Harmony, floated between two warring empires, the United Earth Alliance and the Zalari Empire. The air inside was tense, even though no weapons were allowed. Commander Ryan Cole stood in the meeting hall wearing a formal Earth uniform. He had been a soldier once, but today he was a peace negotiator. His job was simple but dangerous. After 5 long years of war, both sides had agreed to talk. The galaxy was tired of blood. People wanted hope. But Ryan knew this would not be easy. Across from him sat Queen Arasha of the Zalari. She was tall and powerful, with violet eyes that glowed slightly in the dim light. Her skin had a faint silver tone, and her voice was calm but strong. She wore ceremonial armor, though it looked more like a symbol than something meant for battle. They had already been speaking for 3 hours, and nothing was working. "You humans speak of peace," Arasha said coldly, "but your history shows otherwise." Ryan stayed calm. "We can't undo the past, but we can choose something better now." The Queen stood, her long cape brushing the floor behind her. "Do you know how many of my people have died in this war?" Ryan looked into her eyes. "Too many, just like ours." Her expression softened for a second, but only for a second. Then she turned and walked toward the large window, looking out at the stars. Ryan followed her, staying quiet. Sometimes silence said more than words. "I have seen war since I was a child," Arasha said. "My father died fighting humans. My brother too. Peace sounds like a lovely dream, but dreams can be dangerous." "I know," Ryan replied softly. "I've lost people too. I'm not asking you to forget what happened. I'm asking you to help stop more pain from coming." The Queen turned and looked at him closely. Her gaze was sharp, as if studying every thought in his mind. "You're not like the others," she said. "You do not lie, but honesty alone cannot bring peace." Then, to Ryan's surprise, she stepped closer. Too close. He took a small step back. She took another step forward. "You speak of peace," she said, her voice low. "But peace needs something more than paper agreements. Something stronger." Ryan felt his back touch the cold wall behind him. He hadn't noticed he was retreating. The Queen was now just inches away. Her silver eyes locked with his. Then she said it. "You want peace, human? Then marry me." Ryan's breath stopped. His mind went blank. He wasn't sure if he heard her correctly. "What?" he whispered. "Marry me," she repeated. "Not just for politics. Not as a game. A real union. One that no enemy can break. Our bond would be the treaty. Our lives. The promise." Ryan stared at her, frozen. It wasn't fear that held him still. It was shock, and confusion, and something else he couldn't name. Queen Arasha didn't move away. She stood proud, watching his reaction. "You're serious?" he asked finally. "Completely," she replied. "Among my people, the bond of mates is sacred. If I marry you, there will be no more war. The Zalari Empire will honor the vow, no blood, no lies." Ryan blinked. "Why me?" "You're not a coward. You speak the truth even when it's difficult. And you saved Zalari lives when you didn't have to." "I know your past, Commander Ryan Cole." He remembered. During the war, his squad had rescued injured alien civilians from a burning shuttle. He had been punished for that by some in the military. They had called him weak. But he had never regretted it. Still, this was far beyond anything he had imagined. "This a test?" he asked. "No," the Queen said simply. "It's a solution." Silence filled the room again. Outside, a transport ship drifted by slowly. The stars remained still. Ryan's heart pounded in his chest. He could not deny that part of him admired the Queen. She was strong, intelligent, and willing to do what no one else would. But could he do the same? He finally spoke. "I need time," he said. Arasha nodded. "You have 3 cycles to decide. Then I return to the Empire. After that, I will not ask again." She stepped back. The air around Ryan felt less heavy. But his thoughts did not. "Tell your leaders what I said," she added. "Let them laugh if they wish. But know this, no treaty will hold if we return to war. Only a bond sealed by more than words can stop what comes next." With that, she turned and walked away, her footsteps echoing down the quiet hall. Ryan stood there, still pressed to the wall, staring at nothing. He wasn't afraid. He wasn't angry. He was conflicted. Later he sat, alone in his quarters on the space station. A cup of tea sat untouched in front of him. On the table was a data pad showing images from the war, burned cities, injured soldiers, crying children from both sides. And then, a new message flashed on the screen. 3 cycles. Choose wisely. Queen Arasha. Ryan leaned back, covering his face with his hands. What kind of peace offer was this, and why did a part of him not want to say no? Ryan Cole couldn't sleep. The room on the space station was quiet, the soft hum of life support systems the only sound. Outside the window, a star flickered in the distance, yet his mind felt louder than a battlefield. 3 cycles. That's all. The time the Queen had given him to make a decision that could change the galaxy forever. He sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the floor. What did it even mean to marry an alien queen? He wasn't afraid of her, but the weight of such a choice pressed heavily on his chest. Would Earth Command even allow it? Would the Zalari people accept a human as their queen's mate? He had no answers, only questions. Later that morning, Ryan entered the Earth delegation room. His fellow diplomats sat around a glowing table. Commander Leah Grant, his direct superior, raised an eyebrow as he walked in. "You look like you didn't sleep," she said. "I didn't," he replied. He sat down and placed a hand on the table. Everyone looked at him, waiting. "There's been a development." He explained everything, the Queen's proposal, her serious tone, her conditions. When he finished, the room was silent. Then someone laughed. It was Admiral Prescott, a man known for his sharp tongue. "She wants to marry you?" The Admiral chuckled. "What kind of alien ritual is this?" "She's serious," Ryan said calmly. "And if she means what she says, this marriage would guarantee peace." Commander Grant leaned forward. "And you believe her?" "I do," Ryan said. "She didn't threaten. She didn't beg. She offered a solution that makes sense in her culture." The Admiral scoffed. "This is madness. We came here to talk treaties, not plan weddings." But another diplomat, a woman named Dr. Elira Monroe, spoke up gently. "It's not madness, it's strategy. The Queen is tying peace to something sacred, something no one can easily break. That could be stronger than any treaty." Ryan looked around the room. "We've lost millions in this war. Do we really care how peace is made as long as it lasts?" The debate continued for hours. Some saw the opportunity. Others saw danger. If Ryan accepted, he wouldn't just be marrying someone. He'd be binding Earth's future to an alien empire, and yet no one could deny the logic. Meanwhile, on the Zalari side of the station, Queen Arasha faced her own challenges. Her council was furious. "You cannot be serious, my queen," one advisor shouted. "Marrying a human, it would shame your bloodline." Arasha sat on her throne, calm and quiet. "I am not interested in tradition if it costs us the lives of our people." Another counselor, older and wiser, spoke gently. "The people will not accept this easily. They may see it as surrender." "They will see what I show them," Arasha replied. "Strength, not surrender. Courage, not fear." "But why this human?" a younger voice asked. "Because he is different," the Queen said. "He saved Zalari children when he could have turned away. He speaks with honor. He does not hide behind power." The room fell quiet. "No treaty will stop the next war," she continued. "Only something permanent, something personal. If I must give myself to stop this madness, I will." Ryan walked alone through the garden dome of the space station. It was the only place that felt natural, full of trees, flowers, and artificial sunlight. A peaceful space in a place built for diplomacy and conflict. As he passed a small fountain, he noticed someone standing nearby. Queen Arasha. She turned when she saw him. "You walk quietly, human." "I didn't expect to see you here," Ryan said. "I needed air." "And silence," she replied. They stood beside the fountain. The soft sound of water falling filled the space between their words. "I told my people," Ryan said finally. "And?" she asked. "They're divided. Some think you're using me. Others think I should say yes." "And what do you think?" she asked. He looked at her. "I think I'm standing next to someone who wants peace more than power. That makes it hard to say no." She looked at him, calm but focused. "Then why haven't you said yes?" "Because it's not just about me," he said. "If I do, I'm tying my life to yours. I'm leaving everything behind, Earth, family, everything." "I understand," she said, "but peace always comes with a price. The question is, will you pay it?" Ryan nodded slowly. "You're not what I expected, Queen Arasha." "And you are not what I feared, Ryan Cole," she replied. They stood quietly for a few more moments. Then the Queen turned to leave, but stopped. "If you choose to walk away," she said without turning around, "I will respect that. But know this offer was not a game. It was the last door before the fire." She walked away, her cape flowing behind her like a banner of starlight. That evening, Ryan stood in front of a communication screen. On the other side was his sister, Sarah, back on Earth. "You're serious?" she asked. "Yes," Ryan said. "Do you even like her?" Ryan smiled faintly. "She's not what I expected, but I respect her. Maybe more than anyone I've met in years." His sister looked concerned. "But marriage? With an alien?" "It's not just marriage, Sarah. It's peace." She nodded slowly. "Then you'll do what you always do." "What's that?" "Make the hard choice. For everyone else." Ryan looked down. His sister had always seen right through him. By the next cycle, the galaxy was buzzing. Rumors spread fast. The Queen of the Zalari had offered to marry a human. Reactions were loud and mixed. Some called it insane. Others called it brave. Across news channels, people debated. Soldiers wrote letters. Civilians prayed. And in the middle of it all, Ryan Cole tried to breathe. His final meeting with Earth Command came. They had argued, shouted, and finally agreed. "You have our blessing," Commander Grant said. "But be careful. You're not just carrying peace. You're carrying the future." 3 cycles passed. Ryan stood once more in the meeting hall, where it all began. Queen Arasha was already there. She turned as he entered. "You're on time," she said. "I didn't want to keep you waiting," he replied. They faced each other in the center of the room. No guards, no council, just 2 people carrying the weight of worlds. "I've made my decision," Ryan said. The Queen raised an eyebrow. "And?" He looked her in the eyes. "I accept." A pause. A breath. Then the Queen stepped forward. Then, "Prepare yourself, human," she said softly. "You are no longer just one man. You are the bridge between 2 worlds." Ryan nodded. "And I won't let it fall." He stood in front of a large mirror in the guest chamber of the Zalari embassy on the space station. His Earth uniform had been replaced with ceremonial clothing given by the Queen's attendants. The design was simple but elegant, silver and dark blue, stitched with the symbols of unity and peace from both the Earth Alliance and the Zalari Empire. Still, Ryan didn't feel like a prince or a hero. He felt like a man walking across a rope stretched over a storm. Outside the chamber, the station buzzed with energy. Workers decorated the halls with golden fabric and soft lights. Guards stood at every entrance, dressed in their finest armor. Zalari nobles had begun to arrive. Tall, graceful beings with sharp eyes and unreadable faces. Not everyone smiled. Some looked at Ryan with suspicion. Others with curiosity. A few turned their heads away in disapproval. He understood. To them, he was not just a foreigner. He was a symbol of everything they had fought against. Now, suddenly, he was to be part of their royal family. Queen Arasha stood in her private garden surrounded by glowing alien flowers. She wore a ceremonial dress made from the woven silk of the Star Weavers, a creature only found on her homeworld. Her hair was tied back, showing the crown tattoo across her forehead that marked her as ruler. When Ryan joined her, she gave a small nod. "You look like someone who just stepped into deep water," she said. "I feel like it too," he replied. She smiled faintly. "You still have time to swim back?" Ryan shook his head. "I'm already in." They walked together in silence, the scent of the garden calming but unfamiliar. "You know," Arasha said, "I thought about choosing someone from my own court, someone familiar, someone safe." "Then why didn't you?" Ryan asked. "Because peace doesn't come from comfort," she replied. "It comes from risk and truth. You were honest with me from the beginning. I need that." Ryan paused. "What if this doesn't work? What if your people reject it? Or mine?" "Then we will deal with it together," she said. "That is what partners do." News of the Union spread across the galaxy like wildfire. On Earth, some people called Ryan a traitor. Others called him a hero. Protests and celebrations broke out in equal measure. A human marrying an alien queen was something no one had imagined, but there were also those who believed. Old veterans who had seen too much war. Families who had lost loved ones. Scientists, poets, students. They sent messages of hope. Words, like "finally" and "maybe this time," filled the public channels. Among the Zalari, the reactions were no less intense. Some nobles left the court, refusing to recognize the bond. One general even resigned in protest, but others stayed, watching closely. Younger citizens who had grown tired of endless battles began to speak more freely. Many believed the Queen's choice showed strength, not weakness. Still, danger lingered. In the shadows, a secret group calling themselves Zalari purists began spreading fear. They claimed the Queen was betraying her bloodline. They whispered of action, of resistance, and one of them carried a weapon. It happened 2 nights before the wedding ceremony. Ryan was walking back to his quarters after a long meeting with both councils. He was tired and deep in thought. The halls were quiet. Too quiet. Then he heard it. A soft click behind him. He turned. A figure stepped from the shadows, holding a weapon aimed at his chest. The attacker's eyes were cold, determined. "For Zalari purity," the figure said. Ryan moved without thinking. He ducked as the weapon fired, the shot just missing his shoulder. The sound echoed through the halls. Alarms screamed. Guards rushed in as Ryan tackled the attacker, forcing the weapon away. The figure struggled, but Ryan held firm until the soldiers grabbed him. Queen Arasha arrived moments later, her face pale with fury. "Is he hurt?" she asked. Ryan shook his head. "I'm fine." She looked at the attacker. "Who sent you?" The figure said nothing. She stepped forward, voice like ice. "You would harm the future of both our people. For what? Pride?" Still, the attacker stayed silent. He was taken away. Ryan stood, breathing heavily. "Guess peace is still a dangerous job," he said. Arasha looked at him, her eyes full of worry. "You could have died." "But I didn't," he said. "And if this is what it takes to show people that peace matters, then it's worth it." The next day, the Queen made a bold speech to her people. It was broadcast live across the galaxy. "I chose a human not to weaken us," she said, "but to remind us that we are strong enough to change. The future will not come through weapons, but through courage. And this, my people, is courage." The words struck deep. Her people listened, and slowly more hearts began to open. The preparations continued. The Great Hall of Accord was chosen as the wedding site. It had once been used for peace talks. Now it would host a union that symbolized something greater than any treaty. Ryan stood before a mirror again, adjusting the formal robe that had been prepared for him. A soft knock came at the door. It was Elira Monroe, the Earth diplomat who had supported the idea from the beginning. "Ready?" she asked. "As ready as anyone can be before marrying an alien queen," he smiled. She handed him a small token, a pendant shaped like a star wrapped in olive branches. It's a human symbol of peace, she said. Carry it with you. For luck. Ryan nodded. Thank you. That evening, Ryan and Arasha met once more before the big day. They stood on a balcony overlooking the stars. After tomorrow, Ryan said, nothing will be the same. No, she agreed. But perhaps everything will finally begin to heal. He looked at her. Do you ever regret asking me? She turned to him. No. Do you regret saying yes? He thought for a moment, then said softly, not even a little. The day of the wedding arrived quietly but with great weight. In the great hall of Accord, the air was thick with anticipation. This was no ordinary ceremony. It was the joining of two worlds, two peoples long at war, hoping to find peace. Ryan stood at the center of the hall, dressed in formal attire given by the Zalari. His hands felt sweaty, but his mind was steady. Today was the day he would promise more than words. He would promise his life. The hall was filled with guests, Zalari nobles with their shining silver armor, Earth delegates in crisp uniforms, and curious onlookers from other nearby star systems. Some faces showed hope, others showed doubt. A soft hum filled the room as Queen Arasha entered, her steps graceful and sure. She wore a flowing gown of deep blue, embroidered with tiny stars that shimmered like the night sky. Her violet eyes met Ryan's with calm strength as she reached him. A hush fell over the crowd. The ceremony began. The Zalari high priest spoke first in their melodic language. He explained the ancient ritual. The bond they were about to make was not just between two individuals, but a sacred connection that would link their peoples forever. Then, in a language both could understand, Arasha turned to Ryan and said, Human, do you accept this bond? Will you stand with me? Not only as queen, but as partner? Ryan took a deep breath. He remembered all the pain and hope that led to this moment. He looked into her eyes and said clearly, I accept. Next, the high priest asked the queen the same question. She nodded, her voice steady. I accept. The priest raised his hands and began a chant. From his palms, a soft light spread out, weaving a glowing thread between Ryan and Arasha. It wrapped gently around their hands, connecting them with a symbol of unity. This was the peace bond, a powerful Zalari tradition. Once made, it meant their lives were linked. If harm came to one, it would affect the other. Their bond would hold peace strong or warn the galaxy if it broke. Ryan felt the warmth of the connection flow through him. It was strange and beautiful. He was no longer just a man. He was a living bridge between two empires. The crowd burst into applause, but Ryan noticed some Zalari faces still showed worry or anger. He knew their journey was far from over. After the ceremony, Ryan and Arasha walked through the halls together. Reporters and diplomats approached asking questions. Some asked if he felt ready to live among the Zalari. Others wanted to know what he thought of the queen as a person. He smiled politely and answered each, with care. I know it won't be easy, but I believe in what we are doing. Peace is worth any challenge. Arasha stood proudly by his side. This is just the beginning, she said softly. That night in the queen's private chambers, Ryan finally allowed himself to relax. He looked around the room filled with Zalari art and technology. It felt strange but not unwelcome. Arasha joined him, sitting beside him on a low couch. You have been brave, she said. Not many would take this step. Ryan nodded. I did not choose this path lightly, but I also did not want to see more bloodshed. She smiled warmly. Then you are more human than many I have met. They talked late into the night, sharing stories of their lives. Ryan told her about Earth's blue skies and green forests. She spoke of Zalari moons and ancient traditions. Though different, they found moments of connection. But peace was not easy to keep. The Zalari purists, angry and bitter, planned in secret. They believed the queen had betrayed her people, and that Ryan was an enemy in disguise. One night, while Ryan was in a council meeting, a small group of purists attempted an attack on the space station. Their goal was to disrupt the peace ceremony and capture the queen. Ryan and a team of Zalari guards fought back fiercely. The attack was stopped before any serious harm was done, but it shook everyone. The queen was unharmed, but shaken. She turned to Ryan and said, "This proves that peace is fragile. We must be strong together." Ryan nodded. "And I will protect you no matter what." That promise was not just words. It showed the Zalari and Earth alike that the bond between them was real. Days later, the Queen and Ryan addressed the galaxy together on a public broadcast. Ryan spoke first, his voice steady and full of hope. "This bond between us is a symbol that even in the darkest times, peace is possible. Together we can build a future where children grow without fear." The Queen followed, her words ringing clear. "I have chosen not just a human, but a partner. This union is proof that enemies can become allies, and enemies' children can become friends." The broadcast reached billions. Many felt inspired. Others were still cautious, but the message was clear. The future was changing. As weeks passed, Ryan adapted to life with the Zalari. He learned their language, their customs, their history. He was not always accepted, but he was respected. He trained alongside Zalari soldiers, learning their fighting style, not to prepare for war, but to understand his new people better. He shared Earth stories and music, introducing new ideas that helped bridge their worlds. Arasha was patient and supportive. She guided him through challenges and stood with him when doubts arose. Their bond grew beyond duty. One evening, watching two moons rise side by side, Ryan said softly, "I never imagined I could feel at home here." Arasha smiled. "Home is not where you are born, but where you are understood." But the war was not yet fully behind them. The Zalari purists continued their efforts to break the bond. They spread lies and fear, trying to turn people against Ryan and the Queen. One dark night, Ryan found a message slipped under his door. It was a threat, clear and simple. "Break the bond or the stars will burn." He showed it to Arasha. "We will not break," she said firmly. "They fear what we represent." Ryan nodded. "Then we must show them that peace is stronger than hate." Together they planned a series of public visits, traveling to Zalari worlds and Earth colonies. They met with citizens, soldiers, leaders. They listened to fears, answered questions, and shared their vision. Slowly, the galaxy began to change. The story of the human who married the alien queen became a legend in the making. Ryan and Arasha were no longer just a diplomat and a ruler. They were the symbol of hope, a living proof that peace could come even from the darkest past. The days after the wedding were both hopeful and tense. Ryan and Queen Arasha had become a powerful symbol of peace across the galaxy, but not everyone accepted them. Hidden enemies watched and waited for a chance to destroy the bond that held two empires together. Ryan had settled into life among the Zalari. He learned their ways, their language, and their customs. But it was not easy. Some Zalari looked at him with doubt or anger. They saw him as an outsider, a human who dared to marry their queen. But others saw the man who risked his life to save Zalari children during the war. The man who stood strong beside the queen. Slowly, respect grew. One evening, Ryan and Arasha stood together on a balcony overlooking the city of Zalara Prime, the queen's homeworld capital. The twin moons shone softly, casting silver light over the towering buildings and quiet streets below. Arasha turned to Ryan and smiled. "You have changed many hearts," she said. "Even those who once hated you now look with hope." Ryan looked out at the city and nodded. "But not all." Arasha's eyes darkened. "There are those who still plot against us." Before Ryan could reply, a warning came through the security system, an alert about a planned attack on the Queen's palace. The attack came in the dead of night. A group of Zalari purists had gathered outside the palace walls, armed with weapons and anger. Their goal was clear: to break the peace bond by capturing or killing the queen. Ryan was already awake, sensing something was wrong. He rushed to the palace guard room and quickly organized a defense. The Zalari soldiers fought fiercely, but the attackers were desperate and dangerous. Ryan led the defense alongside the queen's personal guard. He fought not only with strength but with careful strategy, using his knowledge of both human and Zalari tactics. During the battle, Ryan saw a shadow moving near the palace gates. A purist was trying to sneak in to strike directly at Arasha. Without hesitation, Ryan moved faster than thought. He tackled the attacker just as the blade swung. They struggled, but Ryan held firm, finally disarming the attacker. "Not while I'm here," Ryan said, his voice steady. The alarm blared, and the last of the attackers were captured or fled into the night. After the battle, Ryan and Arasha stood together in the palace courtyard, surrounded by their loyal guards. "You saved my life," Arasha said softly. "You saved mine too," Ryan replied. Their eyes met, and for a moment the weight of their roles melted away. In that moment, they were simply two people, bound by more than duty or tradition. The attack had shown how fragile peace still was, but it also showed something else, how strong their bond had become. The Zalari people began to see Ryan not as a stranger, but as a protector of their queen and their future. Earth's leaders also recognized the bravery and dedication he showed. In the days that followed, Ryan and Arasha worked harder than ever to bring peace to the galaxy. They traveled to war-torn planets, spoke to soldiers tired of fighting, and met families desperate for a better life. Their presence brought hope. Wherever they went, they reminded people that peace was possible, not through fear or force, but through understanding and courage. One evening, Ryan and Arasha returned to Zalara Prime, tired but hopeful. As they walked through the palace gardens, Ryan spoke quietly. "Do you ever wonder what life would be like if we hadn't made this choice?" Arasha looked at him, eyes reflecting the stars. "Sometimes," she said. "But then I remember why I asked you to marry me." Ryan smiled. "To make peace." "Yes," Arasha replied, "but also to show that love can exist even in the darkest times." They held hands, feeling the warmth of their bond. The story of the human who married the alien queen became known throughout the galaxy. Children told tales of Ryan's courage and Arasha's wisdom. Leaders spoke of their example when making peace. Talks and ordinary people found hope in their story. A reminder that even enemies can become partners, and that peace is worth fighting for. Ryan looked at Arasha and said softly, "I never thought I'd find a home among the stars." Arasha smiled and replied, "You didn't just find a home. You helped build a new future." Together they stood beneath the twin moons, ready to face whatever challenges might come, knowing that their bond was stronger than any war.